Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Peach State Payments. Ethical processing, more profit, less stress. Chiro HD, more than an EHR. Practice management simplified. The Chiro Speaking Company. Attract, educate, and convert. Chiro Spring, cloud-based, user-friendly software with all the essential features chiropractors need. OmniWave, redefining comfort and acoustic wave technology. Chiro Health USA. Chiro Script AI. Chiro Moguls. Pure Chiro Notes. 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 730 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Matt DiDuro. And if you want to hear our conversation about Softwave and the future of chiropractic, stay tuned for the full episode. Oh yeah. Welcome back.
There you go.
This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. Today I have a good friend of mine, Matt DiDuro, on here. This guy's revolutionizing the world with Softwave. 30 years of DC. We're going to talk about business advice that he could give for young, struggling DCs, which, you know, they're out there. And they don't have to be shamed or guilt or fear about going out there and asking for some mentorship. This guy has brought Softwave into the healing arts of chiropractic. We're going to talk about how it works, the earning potentials for cash practice. He has developed a protocol with it. Less is more is the framework. And then he has done something called Softwave University. We're going to talk about all those topics today. But before we get into that, I will let you know our big why. Why do we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle? Well, first things first is protecting the First Amendment, freedom of speech. We believe that that's so vital to the future of this great nation, and specifically the healing art of chiropractic. We also believe in medical freedom and family health freedom. We know that chiropractors can deliver on this. So if you're looking for somebody, if you're looking for clarity for your family, go find a chiropractor in your neighborhood or city that you can get your questions answered about what to do to take care of your family. Philosophically speaking, B.J. Palmer's last written words were called the sacred trust, and we protect that. If you don't know what that is, go to our show notes and check it out. You're going to learn more about chiropractic than you ever did before, I guarantee you. I don't care if you've been practicing for 30 years. Go click on the link, read about the sacred trust. I know I shouldn't have to say this part, but we do support subluxation-based chiropractic. They're taking this lexicon out of the chiropractic education and the philosophy on these campuses. So if you know a young DC that's not getting the goods, send them the show. Please share the show so they can start understanding why the philosophy of chiropractic really matters to the future of this profession. Lastly, we believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence. We believe that when man or woman, the physical, gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual, which creates the educated intelligence. And with that, this is Dr. Matt DiDuro, episode 730 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. Welcome to the show.
Hey, James, it's really a pleasure. My second time back. And man, I love what you and your team are doing. You guys are true chiropractic warriors and keeping our profession at an elevated level. Thank you so much. I enjoy every episode that comes out.
Yeah, you know, it's sometimes the story about how to save lives, but sometimes it's a story about how to get people to understand that creating a system inside of your practice can actually give you financial freedom. I go out and do screenings all the time, and I just did one this past weekend. And on this little spinning wheel that I do, there's a little like part of it on one of the little triangles that says words of wisdom. And when kids spin it, you know, my advice to them, go make a bunch of money and have the best life possible so you can make the decisions about your life in the future.
Good words of wisdom. Those are fine and dandy.
I don't care how old they are. They could be 7 years old. And I'm like, go get a great job, go make a bunch of money and make your own decisions.
That's
high
beautiful.
five. But I think that's what kids need to hear.
They do. My favorite book right now is the Algebra of Wealth by Professor Scott Galloway. I'm making all my three daughters read it, and I recommend it to my nephews and nieces. I think it's a lost art, right? They have time on their side, and where I'm on the back nine of this course, hopefully on 10 or 11, but I have so much to give to this profession and give back. It's been, I think of myself back in chiropractic college 32 years ago as a kid with ADHD and dyslexia. And the hardest thing I ever did was get through chiropractic college. And I know what it's like. I mean, I used to sit and daydream in school, and I didn't sit and daydream like, oh, I want to go work for somebody, right? Nobody does that. So my words of wisdom to those young doctors is, you're an entrepreneur. Like, you got into this profession because you think outside the box, and you're not going to work for someone your entire life. And the average associate, and I've hired probably 32, 33 associates over the years, they stay on average about 22 months. And the best advice I could give them is, as they get ready, work Monday, Wednesday, Friday in my clinic, go start your own Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And that way you have a good base, right? A nice income coming in, and you can afford a family and an apartment, and on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays, you build your dream practice. And I think, too many of our profession, we used to love to eat our young, and that's just not the way it is. It's about, elevating our profession to levels we haven't seen before. And, that's what's been so wonderful about Softwave and bringing this to our profession. It's been a godsend. And I truly look at it as the Trojan horse to get more patients into our office. But I know we'll get into that a little bit. But
yeah. But before we get too down the pathway with each other, because I know I'm excited to talk to you about Softwave also. Like, what was the defining moment when you're 32 years ago that you're like, I'm going to go be a chiropractor?
My older brother, Joe DiDuro, is a chiropractor, and he had John DiMartini come speak at an event he did in Central New York. And John didn't have a license. So I got lucky enough to drive him back to the airport. And it was in that 45, 50-minute ride where he helped me realize that this is a perfect profession. And, I was an athlete, college athlete. I loved to work out, and he really helped point the path for me. So John DiMartini is one of the people that I always thank. So that was really the defining moment where I'm like, I'm going to be a chiropractor.
I wish I'd have known that, because I would have said what's up to him. I was just at his breakthrough experience for my first time down in Houston about a month ago.
Yeah, he's an amazing human, without a doubt.
Yeah, he's 70 now.
And he doesn't age. I mean, the dude is doing something right. But chiropractors are the original biohackers, BJDD, you know what I mean? Like, so it doesn't, I'm approaching 60, and I still feel like I'm 18. The vitality is still rocking and rolling every day,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's just it, is when you find somebody that can inspire you to live to your highest life values and not subordinate to anything other than what you're supposed to do and follow your North Star, you help a lot of people. And more importantly, you build your life with high value processes, and you learn how to have the life of your dreams. And that's really what DiMartini teaches. And I think he did a really amazing thing that day on that ride to the airport for you.
He did, and then I also thank Sid Williams, when I came to Life University and sitting through his Lyceum a couple of Wednesdays a month, and to give, to love, to serve. I bought in the principles. And I remember how he used to teach us that, like, he used to sell pots and pans to pay for his way to go through Davenport. And he'd look at those pots, and he'd talk to them before he went out, and he goes, I love these pots, and they were going to feed him that night because he was going to make money. And, it's like, if you do things for the right reason, and the universe gives back tenfold. And that's kind of the way I've looked at life the last 30 plus years.
He used to go on competition with Reggie, right?
No.
Reggie used to sell pots and pans too. And they used to go out and do sales competitions on the daily when they were both in chiropractic school.
It must have been the thing. They didn't have Cutco knives back then. Those guys would have been great knife salesmen as well.
Yeah. So and that's just it, is he's probably like, boy, and drop some keys. And he's like, you don't have to believe in it. It works whether you believe in it or not. It's just like gravity. And he's like, you're gonna sit over here. Actually, one of the most impactful things I ever heard and read was a lecture that he gave called the Meadowlands Experience. When I was back, my second job in Cairo, I was working at a CBP office in Centennial, Colorado, right outside of Denver. And the doc that I was working with gave me a little book. And what they did is they recorded one of Sid's talks at this area called the Meadowlands. And they turned it into a book. And right when I read that book, I knew that I was going to be able to help the future of this profession.
That's awesome. Yeah, it must have been Meadowlands, New Jersey.
Probably. Let's give some advice to these young DCs other than to find some mentorship. What do you want to tell them?
Set goals, right? Write them down. I think that was the biggest thing that I realized is, I never got into this for the money. So I had people like Chris Coloca who was like, you got to put a care plan together for these people. They just can't come and go as they want, So, but to have friends like that in our profession that like took me under their wing and taught me like how to sell a care plan. I think that's important, right? You can't have the inmates running the asylum. And I'll never forget, Chris Coloca stayed at my house up in central New York, and he was working in my clinic while he was waiting to go take his New York State boards.
Yeah, one of the things I learned is give them what they want, sell them what they need.
Give them what they want, sell them what they need. That's right. And I mean, listen, set the goals, write them down, and then, hammer away. And don't be scared to work 6 days a week. Chiropractic has given me and my family a wonderful life. And Softwave has really been the cherry on top. But I mean, it's like, I love what Joe Stuckey used to say. You never want to be the second person in your town with new technology. and that helped me sell a lot of devices in the first 7 or 8 years. But now we've got 2,000 of them out there. So it's like, I don't know what to tell people now because they're the second or third person. So,
so tell me about Softwave. Why Softwave?
Well, the reason why I fell into Softwave is my wife went to high school with the inventor and founder, John Warlick, right down the street here in Marietta, Georgia at Walton High School. And my brother-in-law wrestled with him. And if it wasn't for those two, I would have never met John Warlick. But I found that, Softwave has been around for 20 years. We've spent over 25 million on research and development. We have over 240 peer-reviewed studies. And when I met John Warlick in 2017, they were already at Harvard, MIT, Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic in urology. And they'd only sold 35 or 40 devices in the first 13 years. And I had an injury. I had a 350-pound patient fall off the table, and I grabbed him, dislocated my right shoulder, detached ligaments in my wrist. I had 2 surgeries. I went from who's who to who's that to who cares. So the one thing I would tell those young doctors is you're not going to stay young forever, and you got to treat your body right. You got to condition it, and you've got to be ready. Always have that emergency backup plan, because I went from seeing 310 people a week down to where I couldn't get out of bed. And you just never know what life's going to throw at you. And I ended up having shoulder surgery, wrist surgery, out of work for 3 years. But the wrist surgery left me in pain for a decade. So in 2017, my brother-in-law dragged me up to John Warlick, a little place in Woodstock, Georgia. And he said, "Is there anything on your body that hurts?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've got this wrist. I can't ride a bike. I can't adjust. I can't swing a golf club." And he put me down. He did a 3-minute treatment on my wrist, and I was hooting and hollering. And he kept saying, "The more pain and discomfort you have, the better clinical outcomes." I got off that table and I was like pain-free for 4 days. It was the first time in a decade. And I got 2 more treatments over the next week, and I was like 90% better. I bought a device. I didn't have to treat my wrist for another year, and I could have done it daily, weekly, monthly, but I didn't need to. So I was sold. And I knew that if this could help me, and I've been searching for 10 years for something that could help, I knew there were thousands of other patients around the country that were looking for something that was non-invasive, non-opioid, non-surgical, that could help deal with pain and suffering, right? So I think, that's the key. It helped me so much. And, I'm proud to say every day, tens of thousands of patients are getting this non-invasive Softwave treatment because of the experiences that happen, and not just for myself, but in my clinic. And in the last 7.5, 8 years, it's gone like this. And chiropractors are the perfect healthcare providers to bring this to the masses.
You ever remember the old movie with Will Smith called 6 Degrees of Separation?
I do.
It was his first movie.
Was it really?
Yeah. And it just reminds me of you telling me the story about John and your wife. And it was always there.
It was always there. A lot of people say, my daughters like to say that I'm like Will Smith in The Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah, you took this thing along and lugged it around until you could find a place. I remember seeing you at the seminars when you were treating Josh Axe. I was right there with you when you were lugging this thing into every seminar that I was at, and I just heard this thing down the hallway.
Yeah.
And I was like, this guy he's relentless.
I was. And it's like, listen, I had a dream. I had a vision of how this could play out, right? And thank God to David Toohill and Josh Axe for giving me an opportunity to work on Josh. Josh had had back pain for 5 years.
I remember the whole case.
Yeah. And we did a couple treatments, and he texted me the next morning. He's like, "Matt, I don't know what you did. That's the first time I got out of bed this morning. And it was the first time I wasn't."
That was at Cal Jam.
That's right. I was Cal Jam. Billy D.
Was that 2018?
It was 2020. It was right before COVID started.
Okay, yeah, that was the last one that we were all at. It was like
2 weeks, right? Okay. 2020. And I remember. But it was so nice because I got to meet you. I treated you, got to meet Luke. You saw it early on, and I remember we went out to dinner, and I was like, blah, 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 blah. I just knew where there's going to be. Like, I could see this coming. I'm not the smartest dude in the room, but I could see how it had already played out in my clinic and my community and how it transformed it. And I was a broke ass chiropractor for a few years. I'm not going to lie.
You were injured.
Yeah, I was injured. I mean, but this thing, not only did it give me my career back to be able to adjust again the last 8 years, but I mean, not only does it get my patients well, but it made my clinic financially stable. And that's the thing that we need more successful chiros.
So talk about that earning potential for cash services.
Yeah, I mean, every day that we're open, each of our devices makes an extra $1,200 per day. In a city of 50 to 70,000 people, my doctors are making 27,000 more per month. Over a year, that's $324,000 per year. I've had doctors who've had this 5-6 years. Scott Kramer out in Redding and Red Bluff, California. Duncan McCullum. These guys, they were in 2019, the first 2 chiros in California. I got Ron Fulmore, the first chiro in all of Florida. I mean, these guys have been knocking it out of the park for years. And some of them are like, I could have been could have been like Dr. Clarence Gonstead and just kept this all to myself, built an airport behind my clinic and had people fly in all day. I was having people fly in from Baltimore, driving in from Alabama, South Carolina, Northern Florida. And I would give them a pamphlet and I'd say, hey, listen, take this back to your doctor and tell him what we're doing here. And I swear to you, to this day, patients still help me sell 1 to 2 devices a month. And it's, you know, it's like, again, it's the cherry on top for an already pretty cool career.
The less is more protocol. Talk about that.
So this is genuine lithotripsy, right? So it's the same technology they've used for 40 years to break up kidney stones and biliary stones with an 85% success rate. Now, it's over the last 30 years, this is the second, third, fourth generation lithotripsy. So it's smaller, it's mobile, it's lower intensity. You don't need anesthetics. You don't need to knock people out. But the engineers and physicists, they looked at the lithotripsy, which was 20,000 pulses over 40 minutes. So originally, a lot of the German and European doctors would do 2,000 pulses, and it would take 15 to 20 minutes to do a treatment. And that just wasn't going to fly here. And it was very expensive. It was like $500 to do a session. So, you know, thanks to guys like Larry Silverstein up in Watertown, who was like, Matt, you're going to have to figure this out.
I know Larry.
He was a great guy. Becky Cashmere and I went to school together. I love Becky and Larry. But Larry said, Matt, you got to figure this out to get it down to $100. And guys like Dan Pompa were like, Matt, you got to create the business side of this. I know it works from a clinical standpoint, but how do my doctors make money? And so what I did, I swiped a lot of stuff from chiro philosophy, but the less is more protocol is where we microdose this powerful, intelligent energy in levels that were maybe 500 pulses instead of 2,000. And we were able to charge $100, $120 instead of $500. And instead of seeing them once a month for 3 months, we'd see them twice a week for 2 weeks, once a week for 4 weeks. And I kid you not, we found that 75 to 90% of our patients are satisfied after their 8 to 10 sessions with this. So the less is more is how we microdose this, how we really use this in a way to honor the body, and it creates an innate response within the immune system. I mean, like who wouldn't like to wear? I always say, if BJ and Dee Dee were alive, they'd be using this because there's a diagnostic component, right? If you run this over normal tissue, normal joints, there's no pain. But as soon as you run it over areas of arthritis, inflammation, poor circulation, torn ligament, there's this patient biofeedback where they go right there, and you can literally pinpoint where the true source of that injury or pain is coming from. We're in 34 professional sporting teams. Last month, the last week of the month in February, we sold one to the New York Yankees and the New England Patriots, 2 dynasties in the sporting world, right? And they came looking for us. I mean, what does that tell you?
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Peach State Payments. Ethical processing, more profit, less stress. Chiro HD, more than an EHR. Practice management simplified. The Chiro Speaking Company. Attract, educate, and convert. Chiro Spring, cloud-based, user-friendly software with all the essential features chiropractors need. OmniWave, redefining comfort and acoustic wave technology. Chiro Health USA. ChiroScript AI. Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. Let's hustle. As I listen to the passion behind the project here and understanding that you have a deep-rooted foundation and fundamentals in chiropractic philosophy, you understand chiropractic business, and you're willing to mentor young DCs and give them great advice and get them to the place where they can become profitable in this world. I think the biggest thing is a lot of these young DCs, they come into this world with a lot of, like I said in the opener, a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, a lot of fear. and they don't know how to go sell $50 adjustments. They don't want to play the insurance game because, it's a lose-lose, but they're looking for ways to actually like have a profitable profession and go out there and help more people. Just off topic, but on topic a little bit. I have a new podcast that we're launching called Get Better Faster. And we're going to be bringing on subject matter experts talking about what they're doing to get people better faster. We're going to be tackling the big three. We're going to be tackling diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. And we're going to start talking to people about their modalities that they're doing. But the thing is my partner is a 25-year practitioner of chiropractic that's a functional medicine doctor. And we're going to start fundamentally infusing these people out there that have zero baseline for chiropractic philosophy. And we're going to start talking to them about innate intelligence. And we're going to start talking to them about the body needs nothing extra in it. It simply needs no interference. If we can clear the interference, the body self-regulates and self-heals. Drop the fucking keys.
I love it. Hey, listen, you remind me of a story that I need to share with you. Johannes Holfeld, who's a cardiac thoracic surgeon in Innsbruck, Austria, who was just recently published in the European Heart Journal, has done 63 bypass surgeries using our patented technology during open heart, using it right on the heart, a 3-minute procedure. And 1 year later, they're showing a 12% improvement in left ventricular ejection fraction, which correlates to a 33% improvement in heart efficiency. Now, why is this important? I call him the Elon Musk in cardiothoracic surgery because we have to make up new names of what he's doing. Never before in the history of mankind has there been a true cardiac regenerative therapy until now.
Well, I just talked to a good friend of mine that practices in the same arena, different technology, same purpose. But he was just at this event called the American Society for Medical Shockwave Treatment in Boston.
Yeah.
I know you guys had a sponsorship attached to that.
Mm-hmm.
But he told me that over in Europe, any surgeries that are performed, they have to do Softwave before and after the surgeries.
There's a Softwave standing by in Austria. They have 11 trauma centers, but I think you're talking about the national health mandate that Austria came out with, that any spinal cord injury patients have Softwave done within 72 hours. And it's called the Spinal Cord Injury Pilot Study. And it's been going on since 2019. And can you imagine that for the last 5.5 years that they were treating these spinal cord injury patients? Looking back at the data, they've had a 50% reduction in spinal cord paralysis. This may be the first true potent therapy for spinal cord injury patients. And I'm lucky enough to have trained the Shepherd Center, which is one of the top 10 spinal injury hospitals in the world. John Warlick and I got to train their PTs and their docs. And so some of the top hospitals are using this as well as top pro teams. So
this does help people get better faster. I love it.
There you go. I could be in the first season, I hope.
Yeah, you will be. And I just think that when guys like us start talking about things we're passionate about, like the healing art of chiropractic and getting people's lives back to them, and you have such a vast knowledge of the other side being the doctor. And I have, this constantly moving idea that we can help more people. We just have to tell them the truth and get it to them. And, now as we're, linking up and having Softwave as one of our flagship sponsors for Chiro Hustle, I want more people to investigate what you're doing. I want them to find out and go get it for themselves. I know that every practitioner out there has got a screaming L4, L5, or they got themselves a rotator cuff that's cranky. They got that wrist. They got that, whatever. I don't care what part of the body it is that's crying at you or screaming at you, or that you've just been modifying the way you adjust people because you see 300 a week, or you see 50 patients a day, and you go to bed at night and you're like, damn, I'm feeling it now. So I recommend everybody go out there and get themselves a treatment with the Softwave to see what it does for you. And then when you have a good result, hit Dr. Matt DiDuro up and say you heard about it on the Chiro Hustle podcast, and we'll help get more people back on their feet and doing the things that they love to do. I'll just tell you, Matt, when I first got into this profession, I started working in a chiropractic physics office as a traction technician. Now, imagine if you're coupling this with spinal remolding and spinal rehab while they're going through it, because it's pretty intense and it doesn't feel good. And imagine how quickly we could accelerate the healing of those tendons and those ligaments as the body's remolding. But here's the real kicker. The doc that started my career, Dr. Matthew Walker, he would have me go out and do these patient testimonials at all of his buddies' clinics. And that's when I first got the kicker that chiropractic I could dedicate the rest of my life to this profession in some facility of it. And I started realizing that there was a big story that I had to go capture. And that's why I've been relentless for the past 8 years running Chiro Hustle and making chiropractic documentaries and going to do screening events, because I started to hear these people's stories about how they got their lives back, how they could go play with their kids again, how they could play with their grandchildren, how they didn't have to lock themselves in dark rooms because of migraines. And that's what I said. I'm going to go do my best with my talents, and I'm going to go start spreading the message of chiropractic, and we're going to help more people. And I'm going to be the catalyst for the future of this profession. So I just want to say thanks, man, for joining with me, being a part of what we're doing over here and believing in the messages that we create. And I think we can't end until you tell people about the Softwave University that you created to teach people actually how, once they get in touch with you, how to go and implement the processes that they're going to need.
Well, again, we have so many wonderful people in our profession who share, right? Rising tides raise all ships. Mm-hmm. Tony Ebel was so kind to share with me his template. I was part of a mastermind group with him and Josh Axe and David Toohill and Dan Sullivan. And, he gave me this template. And this was early on. I had, obviously just met you, and we'd only sold like 200 devices out there, but it was time to create a community, right? Where we could share our patient wins, our success stories, also really share what our best protocols for treating, say, plantar fasciitis, but also what was not working, right? We weren't fixing trigger figure or Dupuytren's or growing hair back. But so we wanted to have a platform that was an open forum and free. And we went from 2 people to 20 people to 200. We have over 2,700 doctors and technicians from 34 different countries. And that might be my greatest legacy, is building Softwave U. And thank you, Tony Ebel. I love his ROII, and I've swiped it and used it and always given him credit, but it's the return on impacting your community first, right? And then it's the return on investment. And sometimes people get those flipped up, right? Like when I get a young doctor's like, tell me how I can charge $300 a session. And I'm like, no, dude, you don't even know how to put the thing together yet, right? Why would you even be asking that? So, you asked me what was the greatest miracle I've seen. And in the first 22 years of practice, man, I had a handful. But I would come home every other day and I'd tell my wife, I'm like, honey, you're not going to believe this. This lady came in a wheelchair and she pushed her husband out in that wheelchair after we did treatments on her. And she goes, did you record it? And I go, no, I didn't. She's like, no one's going to believe you. So I started, after I put the probe down, I'd pick up my phone and I'd start videotaping whatever came out of these people's mouths. And you can go on my social media, my TikTok, Dr. Matt DiDuro. We've had hundreds of thousands of views. But my favorite to this point has to be Mr. Frankie Smith. He had a stroke 20 years ago and lost the ability to open his left hand. It was in a clonus type position for 20 years, and he drove a bus for the New York Transit for 20 years with one hand, basically. He came down because he had some neuropathy, and while he was there, my nurse practitioner said, I think we should do Softwave on him. So we put his hand down and we did a little Softwave on his wrist, and over a 3.5, 4 minutes, we got his hand opened up and he was able to move it after 20 years. And I mean, we still got him adjusted that week. He was in town visiting. We still did, polychromatic lights, but the fact that Softwave was so transformational and really made an impact in his life when the doctors had told him he was just going to have to live this way for the rest of his life. I mean, to me, that's amazing. I love this one patient, Denise, 48-year-old woman. She's a professional rock climber. She had a bad injury 7 years ago and had to have surgery. And I met her at Dr. Rob Benningfield's up in Mooresville for North Carolina during a training. And she came in and I was like, hey, Denise, how you doing? She was the first patient of the day. And she's like, I'm doing good. I don't have to have my walker this week. I'm like, walker? I mean, she's this young lady. And she goes, yeah, ever since the surgery, 1 week every month, I have to use a walker. And I go, well, sell that walker. And we went down, we did a treatment on her. And she got off the table and I picked up the phone. I mean, I'm videotaping, and she was just like, she knew from the first step, the first 2 steps, she was just like, oh my, oh wow. And she's like, I can't believe it. I just feel lighter. And I said to her, I go, Dr. Rob Benningfield, he told me he bought this device because of you. And she started crying. He cried, I cried, we all cried. But that's what it's about, man. That's why I travel all over this country, all over this world, because I want to share these benefits. And when you add chiropractic to this, it's not 1 + 1 is 2. It's 3 × 10 is 30. And I do believe this, Jim, that we have not seen this type of elevation in our profession. And I believe this is the great equalizer. When you put this in the hands of a chiropractor, it's like we become this non-invasive orthopedist with a focus on regenerative healing. Of those 240 studies, we have about 30 of them that now show we activate your body's own stem cells within minutes of treatment. Stem cells are the repairman of the body. And if you went to go get a shot, it would cost you $5,000 in some biological fluid where you don't know where it's coming from, and they're sticking it into the body. That's not philosophically correct with our profession. But when you take a device or a sound wave to stimulate the body's natural healing ability and to activate its own endogenous stem cells, that is why I think more philosophical chiropractors have to look at this.
Dr. Matt, thanks for being with me today. If you guys want to check out his device, go over to the Chiro Hustle website, click on the link for Softwave over there, and that will take you to his landing page, and fill it out. Get a quick 15-minute chat with him, see if working with Softwave is the right solution for you in your practice. And let's not make it all about money. Let's make it about saving some lives. But as I tell those young kids, find a career you love and make a bunch of money so where people don't dictate what you do. And with that, Dr. Matt, I appreciate you being so open and honest and sharing so freely with you, the things that you love. BJ Palmer says it best. It sounds kind of selfish, but I love you because you love what I love. And I saw that on a little macrame piece inside of the Palmer Mansion over in Davenport, Iowa, and I'll never forget it.
That's great.
And I'll close out by saying what I always say at the end of the shows is you guys are just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now, Doc.
Thank you. Thank you, James.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.